Hello everybody, welcome to the garage. We are back from the Thanksgiving holiday. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. We come here bi-weekly, come here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I am Tim, Tuesdays and Thursdays. We talk about golf cars, I go over some questions, I see if I can answer some questions, interact with some people in the chat. If anybody's in the live chat, feel free to ask a question. Feel free to say, "What's up, Tim?" Let's see. We are on episode 75. So here we go. We're going to get started with since the garage is open, we're going to get started with the questions. Question number 1. Trying to figure out what a campground did to make this 95 electric club car go slower. We recently purchased it and are trying to get it back to its original speed. Well, on a 95, the only thing I can think of that they could have done to make it go slower is either you could have two different types of potentiometers in that car. That car could have a V-Glide in it, or it could have that old under the car potentiometer, the old style that was only used for about a year and a half there. Now, it could have just made it, if it's that old style, then it just might be slower just because that old style is wearing out, because those are notorious for wearing out, and you have to get the pre-𝗪𝗂 to 𝗪𝗂 conversion kit to change it out. It's about a $500 kit that you have to get. If it's the V-Glide, you should be able to just take the cover off and look at it when you press the accelerator pedal and make sure the car is going all the way to the top contact. Maybe your linkages are worn or something, it's not quite going to the top contact. Other than those two things, the only thing they could have done, maybe they put the wrong batteries in it. I would have questions about your batteries. I've seen that before, so don't think that's impossible. I've seen it before. Let's see, number 2. I have an older model EZGO in Mexico, 2005, model TXT PDS. It has 6-volt batteries, working fine until one day it just wouldn't move. The batteries were at the end of the life, so we bought new ones. That didn't work. We replaced the solenoid. That wasn't it. Any ideas from here? Could it be the controller? It very well could be the controller. There's no doubt about it. I mean, especially if your car's lifted or something like that, the controller's been put under a bind for quite a while. Running around on low voltage doesn't help either. You know, with your old batteries, could have made it weak. It could definitely be the controller. I would have questions first. Does the solenoid click? Does it click every time you try to you touch the accelerator pedal? You might be interested in setting up an appointment so we can discuss some of the details of this. You can set up an appointment with me by clicking on the Gearheads on Demand logo at Golf Cart Garage, and that'll take you to the scheduling page. You can set up an appointment with either myself or one of the other technicians at Golf Cart Garage, and because I'd have several questions I needed to get out of the way first before we could go into a more accurate diagnosis. Let's see, number 3. I just finished rebuilding my 67 Westinghouse golf cart. I also did the charger. Unfortunately, the timer doesn't work yet. So how do I know it's fully charged? It obviously is not automatic. It has a 20 amp meter that started out really low at 6 amps. 5 hours later, it's pegged at 20. This seems really fast for 6 dead batteries. Any help would be appreciated. Okay. Believe it or not, what you just described is normal for really dead batteries. That is not normal for batteries that are still good. Normal operation would be this. You would plug your charger in and it would immediately peg out to 20, okay? And then it would slowly drop, and it would slowly drop all the way down to about 5 or 4. Once it was down at 5 or 4, that's when you would be really close to knowing that your car is either fully charged or it's really close to being fully charged at 5 or 4 amps, since your timer's not working. But what I can tell you, what will happen if you're trying to charge a really dead battery pack, but it still has enough power to turn the charger on. I've seen this before, that the amp gauge will only go up to about 4 or 5. And as the batteries start filling it and they start feeling better, the amp gauge rises up to 20 and then starts slowly dropping throughout the night. But that's symptoms of a very dead battery pack. Let's see. That was number 3. We'll come back to number 4 here in a second. Let's see. I got dating site stuff in the chat on YouTube. That's cool. You know you've made it when you start getting trolled by dating sites. Let's see. Number 4. I have a 36-volt club car. I want to put 110-volt Christmas lights on it. If I use a 12-volt to 110 inverter hooked to one battery, will that just drain that particular battery, or will it drain the whole 36-volt pack? Well, I got a couple of questions. The answer that you're looking for is yes, it will just drain that one battery. Okay, that's the answer to your question. But your 36-volt club car, does it have six 6-volt batteries in it? Or for some reason are you running 3 12s? If you're running 6 6-volt batteries, you have to hook your inverter across 2 of your batteries to get 12 volts. You don't just do it to one. And the fact that you said 1 makes me think that you might be running something odd, like 3 12s or something. But if you're running 6 6-volt batteries, you've got to hook your inverter across 2 of your 6-volt batteries. Now let's see. Number 5. 95 club car again, just stopped, and now no forward or reverse. Could it be the solenoid? Well, sure, it could be. Could be the solenoid. My first question would be what I always say: does the solenoid click? You know, every time you hit the accelerator pedal, or key on and forward, touch the accelerator pedal, does the solenoid click? If the solenoid does click every time, then that tells me a lot. That tells me everything in front of the solenoid is working. That tells me your key switch is working. That tells me your accelerator pedal micro switch is working. That tells me your activation circuit is activating the solenoid. And therefore, at that point, if the solenoid's clicking, that means power. If the solenoid's good, because it's not 100% guaranteed that just because the solenoid clicks that it's a good solenoid. I've seen that before too. It's very rare, but it does happen. But what is most likely good, and that means you're getting power to the controller. You're just not getting power out to the motor, or the controller's broke, or the motor's broke. So that's it's the solenoid, controller, and then motor. And then if you back up, it's the solenoid, the activation circuit, the micro switch, the key switch. You know, that's all in front of the controller. And the solenoid and controller and motor are all behind. So that's why I always ask if the solenoid clicks. All right, let's see. Number 6. I have an EZGO 48-volt cart. The lights and horn quit working. I checked the fuses in the fuse block and they are good. I checked the inline fuse to the volt reducer and it is good. Is it possible that the reducer went bad? Well, yeah, that is possible that the reducer went bad. You know, the lights are on a 12-volt system, so wherever your reducer is hooked to, wherever the outside, the output side of the reducer is going to a wiring harness that goes to all of your lights. So if you could find that, you know, the output side of the reducer, see if you're getting 12 volts out of that, or maybe put your voltmeter on one of your lights, you know, on the back side or something, and then turn your lights on, see if you're getting 12 volts to your lights or not. My guess would be that you're probably not, and it could be the reducer, especially since you checked the fuses, so that is a possibility. Ricky Smith. Hey, Ricky, what's up, man? Hi, Tim. Thanks for your time and helping us all out. Well, thank you. Let's see. That was number 6, so we're on number 7 now. Number 7. I have a 2004 Club Car Precedent. I switched from the single incandescent headlight to the LED headlight. After switching, only the turn signals came on. The LED headlight has never come on. Am I doing something wrong? The 6-pin connector is the same as the incandescent was. Well, I understand that the 6-pin connector is the same, but there's very few of those lights, if any, are compatible if you switch brands. The connector may be the same, but the wire color code may be different. So you might not be hooking up what you think you're hooking up just because the connector is the same when you switch brands. So you might have to do some voltmeter probing and find out why your regular headlight's not coming on there. It could be just because it's a different brand than what you're trying to hook it into, your wiring harness and everything for your new light. Love your videos, Tim, really helpful. Well, thank you for saying that. Let's see. Number 8 is where we were at. Number 8. I have a 98 EZGO TXT golf cart that will not move. I was bringing it to the garage over the small lip and it hesitated and then stopped. Would not go forward or reverse. I replaced the solenoid and still just continues to click once and not move. There's a slight stutter from the motor, but once it clicks, it doesn't click again until I unhook the negative and the toe switch on and off. Okay. You have a couple of possibilities that come to mind from reading your story there, your symptoms. You did mention the word stutter. Okay, and anytime I hear that, I'm going to have battery questions. But I have seen controllers let me describe what I have seen in some controllers that have gone bad. The car will just go like a foot. Like you put it in forward and you press the gas pedal and it kind of stutter and just go a foot, and then you put it in reverse and it kind of stutter and go about a foot in reverse. I have seen that as a symptom of a bad controller. But I've also seen that as a symptom of a battery related issue, like a bad cable, a corroded cable with this barely hanging on. So check all the obvious things first, like anything to do with your batteries, and make sure that you don't have one that's the voltage is way lower than the other ones. Check that obvious stuff first, and then we might be talking about controller after that point. Let me look over here. That was number 8. All right, so we're going to have number 9. My 12-volt batteries show 13.4. 48-volt system is 54 volts. Would this cause my solenoid to stick? Do I need a controller? All right, I have a couple of questions right off the bat there. 13.4 volts resting voltage on a 12-volt lead acid battery, that does seem pretty high. So my question would be, what kind of batteries do you have? Are they lead acid, with wet lead acid, like you've got to take the tops off and you can see the water in them? Is it that kind of battery we're talking about? Because if it is, 13.4 volts does seem pretty high for lead acid at just resting voltage with no charger running. The charger hadn't been running for hours. That would be what resting voltage is. The charger is not on the cart, it's not running, and you put the voltmeter on each individual battery and you're reading 13.4. Now, if they're lithium, that wouldn't be unusual, but if they're lead acid, that's kind of high. I'll tell you one thing else I've seen. When a voltmeter itself, like this, a handheld voltmeter, when the battery, it runs off a 9-volt battery, when the battery inside starts getting low, they can give you some funky readings. They can give you, in fact, I've seen them read high. So you might want to check that. Double check with a second voltmeter would be what I was saying first. Okay. Still good. Let's see, the last question. Number 10. I have new heavy-duty leaf springs on my DS cart. The ride is way too stiff. Is it possible to remove any of the leaf springs from them to tone down the stiffness? I can tell you this, that is definitely possible. Especially if you got like 4 leaves, if you got the heavy duty leaf springs that are 4 leaves. Some of them, it's as simple as if you look at the leaf spring, there's a little nut on top right in the center, and you can remove that nut and you can take 1, 2, or as many of the leaves out as you need to, and then just put it back on and tighten the nut back down. So depending on your leaf spring, yeah, that's very possible. Some people might not need 4 leaves, because stock is 1. Stock on a Club Car DS is 1 leaf. So going from 1 leaf to a 4 leaf spring, yeah, that is quite a difference. So you might want to, you can tone it down. On some leaf springs, I don't know about all of them, but the ones that I've dealt with in the past, yeah, you could tone it down. All right, we are going to give away a coupon code now. That was the last regular question. I'll check back with the live chatters here in a second. At checkout at Golf Cart Garage, use TIM5 at checkout to get 5% off anything you use, anything you need there. So remember that, use TIM5, and this coupon code expires December the 2nd. So you don't have very much longer to be able to utilize this code. If you think you need to speak with me or one of the other golf cart technicians, we do offer Gearheads on Demand. That is a service where you can schedule and talk with me, and I'll see if I can help you out, or you can talk with one of the other technicians at Golf Cart Garage. Just remember about that, and if you need any more information on that, click on the link in the description, or go to Golf Cart Garage, and there's a link that has this symbol on it. You can click on it there, and that will take you to the scheduling page. It's very simple. You just fill out a little bit of information, and when the time comes, whatever time you picked, I will give you a call, because that's what I do. All right, let's see. Now we'll get to, let me turn the coupon code off here before I do the tip. Oh, there you go, it's done. Now we're going to get to today's tip, but let me make sure that we're through with anybody else asking questions here. Let's see. Looks like we don't have any more questions there. All right, I've been giving a tip. I know I've given this tip several times in the regular videos, because a lot of the things I catch myself just repeating myself. I don't remember what I've said and what I haven't said, but this comes up a lot, and it's the one about the stutter. When someone describes something as a stutter. Well, the tip is, if you think you might have a battery related issue and your cart's starting to stutter, that's the time to look for it. Look for it right then with your voltmeter. During the failure. The stutter is the failure. So if you put your voltmeters on your batteries during the stutter, it would be a lot easier to find that battery if that one battery's dropping out. Because remember, I said batteries never all go out at the same time. One always goes out first. All right, that was the tip for this week. I will see everyone. Let's see, wait a minute. I got Janet Kennedy on YouTube. What's up, Janet Kennedy? Thanks, Tim. I will schedule something. You go ahead and do it. I will be there. Let's see. That looks like that's about it. I will see everybody on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. Not tomorrow, but the next day. All right. Garage is now closed.